You ever get the feeling the market is following a hidden script? That maybe there are predictable patterns that pop up right before a huge crash? Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain and look at an analysis of every single major market peak from the last century to see if we can find that script.
But here's the thing that gets most people. The real danger isn't actually the crash itself. No, it's the wild, euphoric party right before it. It's that moment when everyone feels like a genius and emotion totally takes over. And as this quote from our source material makes painfully clear, a shocking number of people lose it all by getting swept up in those final frantic moments. So that brings up a couple of really big questions, right? Why on earth do we keep making the same mistake over and over again? And is there a cycle here? A repeatable pattern that we can actually learn to spot? That's exactly what we're going to unpack today, finding the hidden pattern that history keeps showing us. Okay, so to solve this thing, we're going to have to be like financial detectives. We're going to sift through all the evidence from every major market peak of the last 100 years and see what they all have in common. And this is the wild part. The core idea is that the market almost acts like it has a personality disorder. It's kind of incredible when you think about it. You've got massive changes in technology, in politics, in the global economy, but the market just keeps repeating the exact same behaviors. Why? Because it's driven by human emotions that never, ever change: greed and fear.
And look, this isn't just something that started happening with the internet. We're talking about a pattern that has shown up in completely different eras, from the roaring 20s leading to the Great Crash, to the go-go 60s, the dot-com bust, the 2007 financial crisis, and yeah, even the everything bubble of 2021. The details change, but as you're about to see, the script is almost identical.
So what is this script? Well, it turns out it can be broken down into a simple but incredibly powerful 4-stage cycle. This is the absolute key to understanding the personality of a market top. Okay, so here they are, the 4 stages. It all starts with stage 1, the rational bull market. This is when things are going up for all the right reasons. The economy's strong, companies are making money, everything makes sense. Then we move to stage 2, the acceleration. This is when the general public starts to notice FOMO, the fear of missing out, kicks in and the returns start to get a little bit nuts. Which leads us to stage 3, the euphoric top. And this is the danger zone. This is where logic goes out the window and it feels like the party will literally never end. And of course, that's followed by stage 4, the collapse. The most important thing to get here is that stage 3, when it feels the best to be an investor, is where fortunes are absolutely destroyed. So the big question is, how do you know what stage you're in right now? Well, lucky for us, there are specific, measurable things we can look at. Think of them like bright red warning lights on your car's dashboard. Let's look at a few of the most important ones. All right, first up, we've got something called the CAPE ratio. The easiest way to think about it is that it's just a way to see if the market is cheap or expensive compared to its own history, but it does it over a long 10-year period to smooth out any weird blips. And this is where it gets a little scary. Right now, the CAPE ratio is hovering around 40. Now, to put that into perspective, that's an extreme level we've only hit twice before in history, right before the 1929 crash and at the absolute peak of the dot-com bubble in 2000. That is a classic textbook sign of stage 3 euphoria. Next up, we've got an indicator named after the man himself, Warren Buffett. He called it the best single measure of valuation, and it's super simple. It just asks, how much is the entire stock market worth compared to the size of the entire U.S. economy? The current reading? It's a jaw-dropping 200%. That means the stock market is valued at twice the country's entire economic output. At the height of the dot-com mania, this thing only hit 140%. We are literally in uncharted territory here. That's another warning light flashing bright red.
Okay, so beyond just the price, we need to look under the hood at the market's internal health, what some people call its breadth. You see, in a healthy market, a rising tide lifts all boats. Most stocks are going up together. But in a late-stage, unhealthy market, you see a huge warning sign. The big indexes are still hitting new highs, but it's only because a few mega companies are carrying the entire market on their backs, while most other stocks are actually starting to fall.
So when we talk about defensive stocks, what are we even talking about? Well, it's pretty simple, actually. They're the companies that sell things we have to buy no matter what's happening with the economy. Food, toothpaste, medicine, electricity. When these boring stocks start doing better than the exciting tech stocks, it's a very subtle sign that the smart money is getting nervous and quietly looking for a place to hide. Okay, so the warning lights are definitely flashing. So what do? Panic? Sell everything tomorrow? No, absolutely not. The point of all this isn't to perfectly time the top. That's impossible. The goal is to simply have a plan. So let's talk about a framework for action.
It really comes down to a simple 3-step personal framework. First, you've got to be brutally honest with yourself. How would a 30% drop in your portfolio actually affect your life? Second, you have to decide on a profit-taking strategy now, before you're in the middle of a panic. Set some rules for yourself. And third, and this part's actually fun, create a shopping list. What are the amazing companies you'd absolutely love to own if you could just get them at a 30 or 40% discount?
And that's really the key takeaway here. This isn't about becoming some kind of market timing guru. It's about risk management. It's about making sure that when the music finally stops, you're not the one left holding the bag, the person who bought at the absolute peak of excitement just as everyone else was quietly heading for the exits.
Look, 100 years of market data tells us one thing for sure. These cycles of boom and bust are inevitable. They are going to happen again. The pattern is clear. So the only real question left for you to answer is, will you be prepared for it?